All right, we're picking up with Genesis 18, verse 1. Let's go ahead and figure out where we're at in the melody here, real quick. So we are in the final third of the first third. And so if you kind of look at this sidebar, you can see that there's three cycles through the melody. There's three kind of laps that Abraham does in chapters 11 through 19. And so we're just getting ready to start the third lap through this cycle of life melody. And then, by the way, after this is the first third of Abraham total. Then Abraham's going to go in for the test, and there'll be a lot of things there. And then the last chunk is passing the torch. Now, even though we're at the final third of the first third, we actually are past the halfway point in the actual reading. Where we're at in the melody, if you just kind of quickly look back at chapter 17, just to kind of flip back, we can see that like in verse 6, it says, I'll make you fruitful very much. Those are blessing notes. So we're actually kind of already in the creation phase. We get this circumcision, which is a sign of the covenant, kind of like how the bow was a sign, kind of like how the stars were signs as well. So we're very much into creation already. This happens a lot where the decreation events, which that was Hagar in the wilderness, the decreation, and then the creation of new life are often in the same quilt pieces. And so we're actually kind of coming out of it. And so we probably would expect some good things at the start of chapter 18 here, but we're going to pretty quickly be hitting Eden beats here real soon. So expect things like seeing and taking what's good in their eyes and things like that in the vision. There are, this is kind of a good thing, some inversions in this one. And so we're going to see some things that are good. But it still will lead to division and problems. And then it's going to end in a collapse as well. A flood that's, by the way, going to be very parallel when we get to chapter 19. Very, very parallel to the flood of Noah. So lots of similar words. All right, quit yapping, start reading. Chapter 18, verse 1. And Yahweh became seen to him among the oaks of Mamre. So a connection back to the very start of this oaks of Mamre. He was dwelling at the door of his tent at the heat of the day. So Abraham is at the door of his tent. This whole story, by the way, is going to be paralleled to Lot, who's at the gate of the city, right? Except for Lot's in Sodom, and here Abraham is kind of up in the ark, right? He lifted his eyes and saw. So we got a seeing, and look, 3 men standing by him. And he saw, and he ran from the door of the tent to meet them, and he bowed to the ground. So we've kind of always known that Yahweh rules with a crew. And so like it has said before, let us make humans in our own image. Let us go down and see this Tower of Babel. They're going down to see the outcry. And here we've got the same us, except for it's literally 3 people that look like humans. These are not 3 people who look like humans. One of them is essentially Yahweh, the messenger of Yahweh, and 2 are spiritual beings, which we'll see later in the story when they strike people with blindness and a whole thing. But let's just read it. Verse 3. And he said, my master, please, if I have found favor in your eyes, please don't pass on from your servant. Let him please take a little water so you can wash your feet and recline under the tree, and that I may take a bit of bread so that you can sustain your hearts. Then you can pass on. For this reason you have passed by your servant. And so we start with an invitation to receive these 3, which is a good thing. So everything's good here. By the way, it's going to kind of mirror again what Lot does. He's going to try to be hospitable. Hospitality is a big part of like the Gospel of Luke. And so things are good. So it's kind of like we're expecting an Eden beat, but things are pretty good here. And they said, so do as you have spoken. And Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah, and he said, hurry, take 3 measures of wheat flour, knead it, and make cakes. By the way, that's kind of like Leviticus language of like how you make offerings at the temple. So apparently they knew how to do all these things. And then Abraham ran to the cattle, and he took, here's our took, a calf. And this calf is good and tender. Good is the word tov, just like the tree of knowing, tov and ra. And then the word tender is the word rak, which sounds exactly like ra. So he's taking the calf of Tov and Ra, kind of like the tree of Tov and Ra. And then he gave it, these are all of our words. He gave it to the young men, and he hurried to make it. And he took curds and milk and the calf he had made, and he gave it before them. And now he was standing by them under the tree, and so it reminds me of like Psalm 1. So he's standing in the congregation, the Yadah of the Tzedakah, the righteous, right? And they ate. So I told you it was going to be an Eden moment, but it's an inverted Eden moment. And so we have a really good taking and giving. And it's fun to see. It feels like there's no good things that happen in these stories, but it's fun to see a really successful Eden moment here. And they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "Look, in the tent." And he said, "I will surely return to you at the time of life." That's Abib, that's the springtime. And look, a son for Sarah, your wife. So presumably this is about 9 months out, but it's hard to say. And so very directly told, it's like these promises have gotten more and more specific, right? So it's like, "I'll make your name great." And it's like, "Oh, this land I will give to you and your seed." And just every time we come through, we get slightly more specific. And now we're getting like the month of when the son is going to be born to Sarah, right? Not just from you. So very specific. And now Sarah was hearing this at the door of the tent. So she's at the door of the tent, and it was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, going on in years. Reminds me of like Zachariah and Elizabeth in the start of the Gospel of Luke. There had stopped for Sarah the way of women. Okay. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, "After I have become worn out, will I have Eden? Will I have delight? And my master being old?" And Yahweh said to Abraham, "What is this that Sarah laughed, saying, 'Will I really actually give birth, even as I am old? Is there anything too wondrous for Yahweh? At the appointed time I will return to you at the time of life, and for Sarah there will be a son." Big thing in the Bible, there's this certainty of God clearly making up his mind on things. Think of like the Joseph dreams that all happen in pairs. This thing is going to happen, right? And so you should fully believe it because Yahweh said it to you not once but twice. And so we actually have a little bit of an Eden moment here. And Sarah acted with deceit, saying, "I did not laugh," because she was afraid. And he said to her, "No, you really did laugh." I love the Bible. It's so awkward. So laughter is associated with disbelief. Abraham did it himself, so he laughed as well. So she's not new in this. It's actually a pretty sympathetic portrait of Sarah, is the way Tim phrased it. In the previous time, with Hagar, it was really unsympathetic to Hagar, but here you kind of get it, right? Like she's past the point where she's going to have kids, and so she laughs. She yitzhaks, which will be the name of her son. All right, let's flip to verse 16, so the next kind of literary unit. And the men rose from there, and they looked down upon Sodom. Now Abraham was going with them to send them off, and Yahweh said, "Should I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do?" Apparently he said it like to himself out loud, right? "For Abraham will certainly become a great nation and powerful, and all nations of the land will discover blessing through him. For indeed I have known him, so that he would command his sons and the house after him, that they should keep the way of Yahweh, by doing what is right and just, so that Yahweh will bring upon Abraham what he has spoken about him." And Yahweh said, so there's going to be this thing where Yahweh's going to do it, but he's going to do it with his human partner, Abraham. I think I could read that sentence a few more times and probably get it better. But it's this going out. So Abraham was going with them. So he's journeying with them to bring the order of God out into the world, right? And so he's got to be a significant partner here, right? And Yahweh said, so like a little division here with Yahweh said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is huge, and their failure is heavy, very much. So kind of like how Abraham and Lot had too much wealth. They were heavy. Their kavod was too much. I hear their failure is too heavy. I should go down, so I can see if the outcry that has come up before me, coming up before Yahweh, this is like the ruin of the land in the flood story has come up before him, or Babel, where he has to go down and see. So lots of these melodies are coming back around. Is what they have completely done? And if not, I will know. And the men turned from there, and they went to Sodom. Now Abraham was still standing, so it's a good thing, right? Psalm 1, so like still standing before Yahweh. And so the two men are headed off to Sodom, but Abram is here with Yahweh, right? That's pretty cool. And they're going to have a little discussion. It's actually going to be a little tree moment again, but this time it's going to be Abraham putting Yahweh to the test, right? So lots of little inversions here. And it's a hysterical story to read. I should have like a drama person read it because there's so much language that Abraham uses, and then very simple yes and no answers that come from Yahweh, and they're always yes, by the way. All right, here goes. Are you really, verse 23? Are you really about to sweep away the righteous along with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the middle of the city? Would you really sweep away? Wouldn't you forgive that place on account of the 50 righteous which are within it? Far be it for you to do such a thing, to put to death the righteous along with the wicked, so that the righteous and the wicked become alike. Far be it for you. Shouldn't the justice bringer of all the land do justice? By the way, that was a full 2 verses of flowery nonsense language. All coming from Abraham. And if you're sick of it, you're in trouble because we're going to keep doing this a couple times. So Yahweh said, if I find 50 in Sodom, 50 righteous ones in the middle of the city, interesting, then I will forgive the entire place on account of them. So very simple response. We're not done, of course. That was for 50. And Abraham answered and said, look, please, I have attempted to speak to my master, and I am but dust and ashes. Perhaps 50 righteous lacks 5. Will you cause the ruin of the entire city because of those 5? So he's not making it about 45. It's just 5 less. And he said, I would not cause the ruin if I find there 45. So a little shorter, which is appreciated because it was getting to be much. And he further spoke again to him and said, perhaps there are found 40. And he said, I wouldn't do it on account of 40. Shouldn't we just cut to the chase? Would you do it for 1, right? And he said, please don't let my master burn with anger as I speak. Perhaps there are 30. And he said, I would not do it on account if I find there are 30. And he said, look, please, I've attempted to speak to my master, but perhaps there are found there 20. And he said, I would not cause the ruin on account of the 20. And he said, we're almost done, don't worry. Please don't let my master burn with anger as I speak, just 1 more time. So Abraham, his understanding of the situation is he's going to stop here. Perhaps there are found there 10. 10's a good number. It's Eshal. It is a number that often represents God, so it's a good number. And he said, I would not cause the ruin on account of the 10. So Abraham decides that 10's all he's going to argue for, which is kind of weird. Seems pretty clear we could go down to 1. And he also never mentions Lot, which is interesting. Just kind of trying to test Yahweh. He's going to teach Yahweh a thing or two about justice here, right? And Yahweh went away, and he finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Such a funny little story. All right, let's turn to chapter 19. Let's catch up with those 2 men. So chapter 19, verse 1. And the 2 messengers, a lot of translations just say angels here, angelos, but they're really messengers. But they're definitely more than human. They appear as human, for sure, which is different from Jesus, who was human but was also divine. But they definitely are got some supernatural qualities going on here. So definitely kind of challenging the heavenly and earthly combination of these individuals. There's definitely a complex nature of Yahweh that's kind of painted here. So the two messengers, they went down to Sodom in the evening, and now Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. So Abraham was sitting at the gate of his tent, the door of his tent. So he's here at the gate of Sodom. So far it's actually all good things, right? So we shouldn't overlook that. We know where the story's going, but let's not overlook where we're at now. And Lot saw, and he rose to meet them, and he bowed face down to the ground, and he said, "Look, please, my masters, please do not turn aside to the house. Please turn aside to the house of your servant, and stay the night, and wash your feet, and rise in the morning, and go your way." So all good things. And they said, "No, we will stay the night in the town center, the middle of the town, right, is where we're going to be." And he pressured them very much, and they turned aside to him, and they went into his house, and he made them drinks and break bread. So the cup and the bread, right? So again here, and they ate. So to be honest, things are really good in the story. It's actually the same as the Abraham story so far of coming into the tent. And it's not until this moment where it goes the direction that you know it's going, all right, with the Sodom story. So verse 4. Before they laid down, then the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, from young to old, all the people completely. And so these are words that are similar to the flood, starting back in, chapter 6, where all the land had become ruined, and all the people, only violence was in the heart. So this is all the people completely. So we've actually, in just one verse, gone through the whole cycle all the way to the end. So when these melodies come back around, they put different time into different pieces, but we can see just from this one verse, this one note, that we're right back to where collapse is necessary. It's called for, right? So it's needed to bring about new life. And they called out to Lot, and they said to him, "Where are the men who came to you at night? Make them go out to us so that we can know them." Knowing them is a euphemism for have sex with them. So this is another rape instance, which is interesting. So we're at 3 so far, I think. So we had Ham in the tent. We had Avram giving Sarai to Pharaoh in Egypt. And then here we've got a story which actually mirrors the Nephilim. So if you think about it, the Nephilim, who were spiritual beings, came down and took the daughters of humanity. So we've got an inverted Nephilim story. So here it's men taking spiritual beings, which is something. So we already knew we were at the flood. We've got another note there. And so Lot went out to them at the entrance, and as for the door, he closed it behind him. So the door represents a closed opportunity. And so when Yahweh closes the door, that's pretty meaningful. When Lot closes the door, I'm not quite as worried about it. But like when Yahweh closed the door of the ark, that was a big deal. And he said, "Please, my brothers, don't do this evil. Look, please, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Let me please make them go out to you." So, pretty horrible, right? About as horrible as you can get. And it's the note that the men keep doing, right? So in the same way that Avram was not a protector of Sarai, he's like, "Tell them you're my sister," right? And we kind of have this repeated problem of men not protecting the vulnerable. And here it's the worst it can possibly get. The good news is that it will not go that way because we've got 2 spiritual beings present, all right? By the way, this story is retold at the end of the book of Judges. There's a Levite who comes to a house. The men of the city say, "Send out the person who's just come to you." And then they have come up with an idea to send out his wife to have sex with her instead. But there's no spiritual beings present in that story. So you can go read that one. But it's one of the most disturbing stories in the Bible. Instead, they do rape her. They leave her on the doorstep for dead. The Levite, after having a big hearty breakfast, eventually goes out and finds her, presumably left for dead, but not necessarily dead. He cuts up her body and he uses it as war propaganda. It's terrible. Like these authors are super creative of how evil people can be, and it's warranted. All right. Anyway, this story does not go that path, which is great. God intervenes. Thank goodness, right? And so, still in verse 8, and do to them what is good in your eyes. Couldn't hit me harder with the note than if you wanted, right? Just don't do anything to these men, because this is the reason they came to shelter in my beamed roof. So I'm protecting just them. That's not great. And they said, get away. And they said, this one has come as an immigrant. And he's, so they're talking about Lot as an immigrant here, and he's bringing justice as a judge. Now we're going to do evil to you more than to them. Not going well here. Gonna need some intervention. And they brought pressure against the man, against Lot very much. And they drew near to break down the door. And the men sent out their hand, and they brought Lot into the house. So this is sending out your hand and taking Lot and bringing him into the protection of the house is what's going on here. So a huge pivot moment in the story. Reminds me of like God not letting Adam and Eve send out their hand and take from the tree of life and being in a state of like immortal problems. It also kind of reminds me of Noah sending out his hand and taking the dove and bringing it into the protection of the Teva again. By the way, this word, the house, it's the word for the house, it's habayat, habayatah here. And then the word for the ark is hateva. They are exactly spelt backwards. So it's 5 letters in Hebrew. So it's very clearly referencing the ark here, which is just kind of funny. These authors, they spell a word backwards to make a connection. I'm not going to catch that with semantic embeddings. And they close the door. So here they close the door. This is a final judgment, right? So we're just talking about judgment. And so it's going to be a problem for people that are not inside this mini cosmos, right? So the house is this mini cosmos, keeping seed alive. And if you're not on the inside of this house, it's gonna be a problem. So got all these notes. They're hitting us over the head like with a tack hammer to see this melody, right? And as for the men at the entrance to the house, they struck them with blindness. So they were going to do what is good in their eyes. That's just what it said. So Lot said, do what is good in your eyes. But then the two spiritual beings, they strike them with blindness. So you can't see Tov when you're struck with blindness, right? So they've said no, right? And so from the littlest to the biggest, which that sounds really rude in our modern cosmology, that from the littlest to the bigger, but it says like from young to old. So it's kind of forming a chiasm around this pivot center, right, which I think is verse 10. And they struggled to find the entrance. And the men said to Lot, so this is the angelic beings, men, how many live here are yours? And so like who's going to be part of this ark, right? Sons-in-law, or your sons or your daughters, or anyone who's yours in the city, make them go out from this place, because we're about to cause the ruin of this place, because the outcry against them is great before the face of Yahweh, and Yahweh sent us to cause its ruin. And so all the same words from the flood story. I will ruin the land. Yahweh sent us to cause the ruin of this place, right? And Lot went out, and he spoke to his sons-in-law, who had taken his daughters, taken wives, still kind of not great. And he said, get up, go from this place. So Lot's telling other people, like, hey, you need to get on the boat, because Yahweh is about to cause the ruin of the city. But in the eyes of his son-in-law, he was trying to make them laugh. So he was trying to make his sons Yitzhak in their eyes. So it's like, you're telling us jokes. And so it's exactly like Sarah did with not believing Yahweh. Abraham himself also laughed as well. So laughter is, again, this disbelief. So they're not going to be part of the boat, right, is what's going on here. All right, let's turn the page to verse 15. So chapter 19, verse 15. And just as the sun was going up, so they mentioned time of day, they must have said it for some reason, so we've got new creation moments here, right? That the messengers urged Lot, saying, "Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are found." Like, why didn't we just run away last night, right? And so apparently it's going to just be Lot, his wife, and the 2 daughters. So 4 people. 4 often represents a test. So that you are not swept away. And so the last time Sodom was destroyed, it was by kings, and they swept away all the people. With the crookedness of the city. Better start running, dude. Verse 16, but he delayed. So there's a very clear plan that he needs to be a part of, and it's important that he does his part, but he delayed. So he doesn't even want to go. And the men grabbed his hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hand of his 2 daughters. Shouldn't that have been plural? But that's okay. And so they grabbed the hands because Yahweh, because of the mercy of Yahweh was upon him. So did not deserve this, right? And they made them go out, and they arrested him outside the city. So we drug him as far as the city, right? So, but at some point you're going to have to get involved here, E4. And it came about, as they made them go out the city, that he said, so this is one of the angelic beings, escape for your very being, your nephesh, right? Don't stare behind you. Don't stand anywhere in the valley. So again, this makes me feel like Psalm 1's. Don't stand with mockers, right? Don't stand with the evildoers, right? Don't sit with mockers. Yeah, that's right. Escape to the mountain. So the mountain is often represented as like the mountain of God, so the high place, right? So the Eden. So that you're not swept away. Go to Eden, right? Choose Eden. Don't stand in the valley. What's Lot going to choose? And Lot said to them, "No, please, my masters, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes. You've made great your loyal love, your hesed, that you've shown to me by keeping alive my very being, my nephesh. But I'm not able to escape to the mountain. I can't go to the place God's picked for me. Or else the evil will cling to me and I will die." So he sees something different, right? Look, please, this city, it's an ear. There's a theme, by the way, this is hysterical. There's a theme with Hebrew letters. This can take me a little while to explain. But God made an Azer. It's this A-N Zion Resh. So this kind of Y-looking thing and this backwards R-looking thing. And so God made an Azer. And then God made skins, which was Or, which was looks very similar. But then Cain chose to build a city, right? And so this ear is bringing back up a melody of people choosing not what God makes, but they're choosing their own thing, because God told him to be a wanderer, but he chose a city, right? And flee there. And so then here's another one. It's the word little. Zoar is really how you would pronounce it. It's Mazoar is really. Please, may I escape there? It's so little. So Lot is choosing Zoar, and so this A and Resh theme of what you choose is just keep coming up. By the way, it's also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but with Melchizedek earlier, Abraham chose an Ishal. He chose a tenth, right? So he chose God, right? He chose to tithe, right? So definitely do my tithe. But here we've got this theme again. It's back. The letters are just a little bit different. It's Sade, Ayin Resh, but it's this theme made by letters. Anyway, please, I choose Zoar. Isn't it little? So that my being can live. By the way, he picked Zoar earlier as well. Whenever he looked around, he saw the valley of the Jordan. He said, "Isn't it like the Garden of Eden? Isn't it like Egypt? Isn't it like Zoar?" And so this is not a great place, but it's what Lot's choosing based on what he sees as good, right? All right, he said to them, "Look, I've lifted up my face even about this thing, so that I won't overturn the city which you spoke of." So this is interesting. So this is the angelic beings saying, "Look, I've lifted up my face even about this thing. I've informed you about all this, so that I won't overturn the city which you spoke of. hurry, escape there, because I'm not able to do anything until you go. So a little bit of an insight to the angelic beings, right? Like their hands are tied. Like they've been instructed by Yahweh, and they're carrying out Yahweh's instructions, and they can't do anything until Lot and them are out of here. But I'm sure they're pretty frustrated with Lot. This is the reason one calls the city Zoar, which means little. So all these same words, so city and Zoar, are clearly connected. And the sun went out. So we started off with like a sun going up, a new life moment, but instead we ended up with the sun going out. And so Lot came to Zoar, and Yahweh caused it to rain. Only mention of rain we've had since the rain of the flood, but this time it's not water. He caused it to rain over Sodom and over Gomorrah, sulfur and fire from Yahweh. So a slightly inverted rain, but still the same collapse from the skies. And he overturned these cities and all the valley and all the dwellers of the cities, even the plants of the ground. So we have a collapse, right? And his wife stared behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. That's a weird little addition, right? And so she was instructed very specifically, don't stare behind you, don't stand in the valley. But she is turning back to that way. And she becomes a pillar of salt. I also can't ignore the fact that where she becomes a pillar of salt is where the Dead Sea is at, right? That makes me uncomfortable, right? It's like they're explaining why the Dead Sea is there. But the theme is clear, right? So she chose to turn back. Jesus will also make mention of this with the turning back, right? And so Avram rose early in the morning. Whew, we're back to morning. We're back to good things, right? To the place where he had stood before the face of Yahweh, and he looked down upon the face of Sodom and over Gomorrah, and upon all the face of the land of the valley. And he saw, and look, the smoke of the land went up like the smoke of a furnace. I'm sure those words are significant, but I don't know why. And it came about, when Yahweh caused the ruin of the cities of the valley, that he remembered Abraham. So this remembering, if you want to look back at it, you can find it in chapter 8, verse 1. Yahweh remembers Noah. And so it's here that it says that Yahweh caused the ruin, and he, meaning Yahweh in this time, Yahweh remembered not Lot. Yahweh remembered Abraham. So Yahweh acted because of who Abraham was, not because of who Lot was, right? So it's kind of important that the righteous intercessor is very much, the Noah here is very much Abraham and not Lot. And so he sent Lot out from the middle of the overturning when he overturned the cities in which Lot had been dwelling. Cool. So we kind of finished the destruction, which is good. Finished with destruction, and then early in the morning we're actually starting up a new lap. And so we have God remembering Abraham, and so we're starting up a new lap. Now, to be honest, this new lap, you would expect some blessing words and things like that, and then eventually we're going to have problems like Ham in the in the cave, or was it a tent then? No, it was a tent then. So Ham in the tent. We're going to kind of zoom through the melody. We're going to go straight back to Ham in the tent, and we're going to follow Lot to see how Lot is doing in Zoar. So verse 30 of chapter 19, last little chunk in this cycle. It's going to start going bad quickly again. It wasn't good for very long. Verse 30, and Lot went up from Zoar, and he dwelt on the mountain. Turns out Zoar, not that great. Zoar was mentioned back when the kings took it over. Poor chooser a lot, so didn't actually even stay in Zoar very long. So he went to dwell on the mountain. Good choice. Maybe we should have done that the first time. And his 2 daughters with him, because he was afraid of dwelling in Zoar. That makes sense. And he dwelt in a cave. It's actually like an exposure in the cliff. It's like a naked place in the cliff, right? And he and his 2 daughters, the 2 daughters that he tried to send out to the men. Great. And the firstborn, oh, we have another. This is just a disturbing story. And the firstborn said to the little one, "Our father is old. There is no man in the land to come over us, as is the way of all the land." So they're going to preserve seed, their style, right? Come, let us make our father drink wine. Oh no. We've got notes of Noah taken from the fruit of the vineyard, getting drunk, laying down in the middle of his tent. And in that story, we had a male child raping a female parent. And then here it's inverted. It's as though we saved Lot and it didn't do any good because Lot was not changed. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's almost pointless to rescue people whose hearts aren't changed, right? Because the same old problems are just going to come back around in the next generation, and they're going to preserve seed by their own choices. All right, let's just read it. You know what's going to happen. So let's see here. The firstborn, come, let us make our father drink wine, verse 32, and let's lie with him, and we will make seed come to life from our father. So from the father, it's Moab, right? Moab. And they made their father drink wine in that night. And the firstborn went, and she laid with her father, and he did not know she laid down or when she got up. I'm just going to keep reading to plow through this one. It's not great. And it came about on the next day, thought we were done. We're not done. That the firstborn said to the little one, so we're kind of rewinding and going to do it all again. Look, last night, I laid last night with my father. Let's make him drink wine also tonight and go lie with him so we can make seed come to life for our father. All the same words. And they again made their father drink wine on that night. And the little one got up and she laid with her father. And he did not know when she laid down or when she got up. And the two daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father, and the firstborn gave birth to a son. She called his name Moab, which literally is, the M is from, and Abba is father, Ab, so from the father. He is the father of Moab unto this day. So a little bit of a slam on Moab, by the way, here as well. The Bible does that quite a lot. So Ham was the father of Cain, and so the Canaanites are not put in a good light. And so each generation makes their own choices, but a lot of times these things continue to flow, right? And then the little one, she gave birth, and she called his name Ammon, and he is the father of the Ammonites until this day. So later we'll have Nahash is the name. He gouges out the eyes of all the Israelites. Not a good people that go along with the Israelites. So we've got problems again already. All right, so those are the three cycles through the shaping of Avram, now Abraham. And so now we're going to be getting into the next story is going to be kind of like the center of the Abraham, and that's the test. And so this is going to be going to have a son, Isaac, Yitzhak, and then all the things that they've done to get this child are going to be put to the test. All right, go ahead and take a break. Good time for a break. Come back and join us for chapter 20, verse 1 after a little break.